Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer too. I'm half crazy,
all for the love of you. It won't be a stylish marriage. I can't afford a carriage, but you'll look sweet.
Hello, Cubanwriter here with Darkling Faye.
Hello.
And we're here to review the 11th episode of Iron Fist. Another goodie.
So did the horse get led back to the stable?
Yeah, I guess if Colleen Wing is a horse and being led back to the stable means that she gets back with Danny at the end, then...
I can't believe you just spoiled it for everyone.
Oh, spoiler alert. Nah, these are all spoiler reviews. I really enjoyed this episode, and my favorite parts of the episode all had to do with Colleen Wing.
Oh, okay. So that's good.
So what did you think about the episode?
Well, first we should talk about the director. So this one was directed by Deborah Chow. And again, our favorite writer, Ian Stokes, wrote this one.
Ian Stokes, best writer of Iron Fist ever.
It's true. So far. But just to know, your director did an episode of Fear of the Walking Dead. I know you watched that. That was something that you liked.
Well, actually, I didn't care much for Fear of the Walking Dead.
But you did like Mr. Robot, and she did direct an episode of Mr. Robot.
Mr. Robot is an incredible show. And if this person directed Mr. Robot, then
just an episode of it, but still, I mean, you
that's
love.
Very good.
You're already in love now.
Yeah.
I can tell. So I did have just a negative.
What was your negative?
So my negative is I don't understand. Every time we get around Claire, she talks about all these other superheroes, but then logically wouldn't you think she'd actually talk about them and be like, I know this guy and he can do this, and I know this other guy and he can do this other thing. Like, this guy got shot in the head and he still lived. Why aren't we calling him for help? She knows all these people and she alludes to them, but then never really describes them or says anything, and then acts like Danny is an anomaly that, and I'm thinking how does it work?
Her only job in this series, other than patching up the heroes, is, and perhaps being a voice for the audience when we need some common sense. Her other job, of her 3 jobs, is to make allusions to the other characters so that we know it's in the same universe, but also not call the other characters into the plot so that they don't have to have them guest appear.
But I think Madame Gao was the better instrument to do that with. Because Madame Gao did talk about Daredevil and Luke Cage. The only person she really didn't talk about is Jessica Jones. But we kind of already got that alluded, the female private eye who had. So we've already kind of had that alluded to. So I feel like when they're doing it through Claire, the audience then ends up thinking logically, well, then why aren't we calling these people? Why are you not trying to work smarter?
Yeah, this reminds me of the beginning of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. When they first started, you'd have an Iron Man movie and a Captain America movie, and then you started wondering, well, why aren't they calling the other ones? They know each other now. It would make sense to call them in this scenario. Why aren't they calling them? And it was really with Ant-Man that they started to resolve this issue. They created a plot reason why Ant-Man couldn't call the Avengers. And then they started actually incorporating the Avengers into the Captain America movies, and they started to resolve it. I wish they were more open to bringing in the other heroes from the other series, but I think I hope we're going to see a change in how things go after the Defenders. I hope once they work together the first time, then they'll be more open to having them cross over.
I just wish, if you're going to have her say all this, make these kind of comments, then it should go somewhere. Because otherwise, then it feels like, why is nobody... I mean, she's so smart and intelligent with everything else. Why wouldn't she be like, oh, duh, maybe I should call these people up and see if they can help?
Yeah. Hey, let me call the super strong private eye, the bulletproof... ex-prisoner, and the devil of Hell's Kitchen.
Who's
I know
dealt
all
with
of
the
them.
hand quite a bit, so maybe he'd be the perfect guy to get in here.
Right. Yeah. It it strains credulity that these people aren't at least being attempted to be contacted.
And I like when they're smarter about it. And like I said, that was like my negative when they do it kind of outright, but it doesn't go anywhere. And I love the little smart nods to others that are done in this episode that are so subtle. I don't know if you caught it, but I loved when she was making coffee for Davnos, the coffee container on the countertop is the exact same brand of coffee that this swear jar is for Luke Cage.
How do you remember that?
So
I didn't catch that at all.
I love the subtle nods to the others. I think are so much more intelligent, and then that gives me the little fangirl inside that squeeze when I see that type of stuff than when they try and be overt about it and then it doesn't go anywhere. Like, I love those type of little touches. That was one of the things I loved about this episode, that kind of subtle blending that they did with all the other things that came together.
That reminds me of Quentin Tarantino movies. He always has this cigarette manufacturer which has a green apple with a worm coming out of it.
Oh, okay.
And in all of his movies, I can't think of one. Maybe the Wild West one he didn't have it. But maybe it did. I wasn't paying attention. But in all of his movies, this brand of cigarette manufacturer is used or seen in the background or something. And so I guess they're trying to create a common world feeling by incorporating these products into their different series.
Huh. Yeah, well, I liked that. Those are the little touches that I think are smart. When they do it in an intelligent way, where they're like a nod, a homage to the other people that would make sense because she has met all these other people.
Yeah. I really didn't have any negatives of my own, but going to the positives, my favorite thing was the way Colleen Wing was allowed to kind of evolve, and the actress was given a lot of emotions to portray, where she had to show you through her actions what was going on inside of her. The slowly growing, horrified realization of what the hand really was and how they could treat people, followed by later on in the alley when she meets Danny Rand and she begs him to kill her practically because she almost doesn't want to be alive anymore, knowing now that her whole life has been a lie and that the organization she was sworn to is actually a pile of crap. And she really, part of her, I think, really does want Danny Rand to go ahead and kill her and fulfill his oath because she doesn't want to be around anymore. At least part of her doesn't.
Well, I mean, the way that they portrayed this particular character is she really was trying to make things better. So she was trying to help kids that she felt like didn't have a chance, and she felt like she was giving them an opportunity and that they were going to be doing something with, something good with their life that they wouldn't be able to do before. So then to kind of realize that all the work that you've done, your hopes and dreams and goals and ambitions and, the blood, sweat, and tears you put into these people, to realize that really it is just a criminal organization.
Yeah.
They're just about making money, having power, and ruling, and subjugating people to such a large degree. And then part of her is going to want to be kind of despondent to the fact, like, what does she have to live for?
It's like the backbone of her life has been pulled out and laid bare.
Yes. So it was nice. She has a good character development.
By the way, what were they going to do to her in that medical room?
This is one of the frustrating things about this particular season. Like, hint at stuff, but it doesn't go anywhere, nothing gets explained, and you're just like, well, what? Wait, please tell us, because I don't understand. Are they injecting her? Like, and there's like it's weird. She's in the wheelchair type thing.
There's like vats of weird shit.
Weird, like, I know, like very strange, like body parts just hanging in certain cages and stuff. And then you're like, but what are you doing here? And what are you going to inject her with? And why aren't you just killing her? Like, that does not make any sense.
Well, I think they were going to drain her fluids from her body because I remember in, I think it was Daredevil, that there were some people they were draining of fluids to feed to this weird coffin thing, which turned out to be where Elektra was going to be.
Oh.
So, but I'm not sure if that's connected to what they were going to do here.
I felt like that it needed to be a little bit more explained. Again, so much of the stuff that is off screen, I want on screen more, and just a little bit more of an explanation, just like 1 or 2 more minutes of this type of setup would make sense, right?
When she broke away, I was like, I had two minds about it. I was simultaneously like, you go, girl, beat him up. It was a good fight scene. But I was also like, couldn't you wait a little longer so I could see what they were going to do?
Yeah, but did she know or not know? Like, that's never really known. I mean, that scene too, though, now that you brought that up, I was a little mystified why Bakoto,
Bakuda, I think.
I'll be honest. I don't understand the name.
Foreign name goes here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I think it's Bakudo. I don't know.
Bukake.
We'll figure it out at some point. So far, he's her sensei. He has trained her. He knows how good she is. He knows all of her strengths, her fighting. And throughout this kind of series, she's almost been a better fighter, really, than the Iron Fist has. But she's so good enough that he feels like Danny has felt like she's up to par to be able to support him and to give him backup. So she's really up there talent-wise and skill-wise. So why would he think that 2 of her students that she has been shown throughout this entire series to be able to easily defeat should be the ones that do whatever's going to happen? He should know that she knows how to escape out of things. She's smart. She's been able to... He taught her all of this stuff, and that was the one thing I didn't understand. I thought there should have been more students, maybe. It's just... It felt weird. Like, it didn't...
She was tied to a chair, so basically the weakness of her boss, of her sensei, is that he thinks tying them to chairs, he mistakes this as a good way to keep them confined.
I can't believe in all of her years of training, escape artistry wasn't up there on some classroom 101 somewhere.
I guess they couldn't drug her to knock her out because they were going to drain her fluids for something and they didn't want to pass on the drowsiness. I don't know.
I know that was just, it just like was strange. But I will say, that aside, finally, some good girl on girl action.
Yes. This fight didn't feel retro 80s.
No.
It felt very natural, like there was a good reason to fight both of them, a man and a woman. It didn't feel set up where you had the super woman evil person against the good woman good person.
Yep. I totally love the action throughout this entire episode. I thought it was done really smartly. It was finally what you've wanted to be seen in this entire action, supposedly series, and it was good, I have to say.
Her action scenes getting away were very fun to watch.
It was. It really was.
And I liked how they finally showed why, or not why, but how the hand has people everywhere.
Oh, that was another one of my positives, and it reminded me of that Bond movie.
Yes.
Where
I was bringing that up in the other episode, and I didn't get a chance to.
It totally felt like the Bond moment where she's like, yeah, they say they're everywhere, but they don't. It's just a saying. You don't actually think they're everywhere, and the hand is literally everywhere in every aspect, and they show how they put them in roles of politicians, just nurses and doctors and everyday garbage men type thing to running the companies, and they literally are everywhere.
Well, their plan is a good one. You take a child, you empower them, you make them have an emotional connection to you to where they feel like they owe you for their success, and you place them in positions where you need influence or information.
The hand is a cult. They take people that don't have a strong family background. They're already troubled. Society has cast them aside and told them they're worthless for whatever reason. And they can get that loyalty through that because people want to belong to something. It doesn't have to be anything huge, but they want to feel like they're accepted by at least a small core of some part of society. And they give them that. They give them the reassurance, that sense of home, that sense of belonging. that most cults will do. And it's showing how they perfectly prey on that type of thing to get their loyalty, to get that type of... And it makes more sense now when you think of the earlier episodes where... in that terrible scene where he had to do the honorable duels with like 5 million different people, and how one did come from a science lab, two came from like a, I guess they were chefs in some thing. It made sense. Now that we get to see it actually explained to us, it made sense why they were kind of pulled from different places, because
they have sleeper agents everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah. Really, it is. And I thought they did such a wonderful job in showing that. Like, the hand is so insidious, and it's awesome.
Yes. So, what did you think of their final makeup? I thought it was a really nice, emotional scene.
Thought it was a better love story than Twilight. Danny and Colleen Wing.
Two disillusioned ex-cult members coming together.
Yeah. I mean, basically, they both have realized that what they've kind of dedicated their lives to for so many years hasn't necessarily been what they thought it was. And regardless of whether you were on the so-called good side or the bad side, evil or, bad or not, you're still realize that you weren't necessarily told all of the truth, or it wasn't everything that was expected to be, and you can feel that kind of coming together. This coupling makes sense to me. You could see why these two individuals would be drawn to each other, and why they would have such a strong kind of kinship. And so that felt more real, where I have kind of told you where I feel like poor Claire, I feel like they just throw her as a romance to like whoever is the superhero of the day type thing. And this actually felt like it was like legitimately real. You could understand how these two characters would come together. It didn't feel forced. It felt like it made total sense.
Yeah, I wasn't always completely on board with their chemistry, but it's grown more and more natural as the series has gone on.
One of the other things that I did kind of like, I loved the flashbacks.
Oh, yes, finally some bits of Kunlun.
Oh, it was so nice to see. You get to see that what they've been talking about, this mysterious place they've been talking about for so long, and you get to see the hint of the dragon battle or fight or whatever it had to be that took place. I liked that they didn't like show it overtly in your face. You didn't get to see everything as it happened. I think that was an actual smart move, because obviously a dragon's going to be very pricey CGI to do. Yeah. It would just not very cost prohibitive for this type of series. You're not going to make anything if this is what you're going to spend your time on.
Right.
So it was nice that because I wasn't sure if they were going to keep to that
mythology
origin story for it. I thought maybe they would do it a little bit differently, because I didn't think they would be able to show a fight with the dragon.
They really made good choices to embrace the mythology, but without having to show you everything, by just alluding to it and mentioning it and showing you everything surrounding it without showing you the thing, and that's totally okay.
It is.
Now, do you think Davos, who has now been so well developed, and we know he's super jealous of Danny Rand, do you think he's eventually going to be in a fight with Danny Rand at some point?
I don't know. I will tell you that officially I am in love with Davos. Totally in love with him. Love the character. I liked that through this character you can kind of understand more of the training that went on and the type of monks and their type of beliefs that that Danny Rand has kind of followed. And I loved it. I just love this character. I think he's awesome. I would probably like to see a series of him. Might have been just a little bit more enjoyable than some of the episodes we've gotten with Rand. What I liked about Davos's character is I like that the questions he asks and his reactions to New York and the world that he's in make so much sense. And these were type of things that I wanted to see Danny do, but he never really did. And you finally get to see it in this character.
What's nice is that they let Davos learn and grow in the real world, but without making him seem like an idiot at any point.
Yeah, and I like that he's kind of questioning, like, Because so far in this series, like, Danny is, like, acting like the world that he's in now, the New York and all this world that he's in, as opposed to Kung Lao, this is the world that's worth fighting for, right? And Davos is kind of like, you know, he comes here and he, like, looks around and is kind of like, what is so great about this place that this is what you want to fight for instead of Kung Lao? And I like that kind of questioning because I think Danny should also be questioning that to some degree. I understand the kinship he feels with it because he does have that dual kind of persona going on. Is he Danny Rand or is he the Iron Fist? Who is he? But he should, I think, at some point also question his own, like, why did I come back just for this is what I came back for? It's probably not what he thought it was going to be. And you never really get to see that struggle. But, like, Davos is the one who finally gets to verbalize it and actually says it. And it's like, yes, that's what I want because that makes total sense. Like,
yes.
Why do you think that this is the place that you feel like you're supposed to be making your stand and this is where you feel like you're fighting and everything for?
And I feel so bad for him because he's like, why did this loser get the Iron Fist? And I, who am so devoted to our cause, I am the one left out of the Iron Fist, and I have to drag him back to his duty against his will.
It's true, because I think we all kind of have felt like that at times, like, how did you get this, and why were you chosen? Because it doesn't make sense, but it's nice that finally someone is actually questioning it, and I like that he was, like, honest about it. He's like that honest character who is like, yeah, I this is something that I had spent my entire childhood thinking I was going to get. This was my dream, and you got to live it, and I don't understand why, and I don't like it, but I still consider you a brother, and I'm still going to help you and support you, and I thought that was really, like, a really cool, like, this is a kind of cool, I don't want to call him a sidekick, because I don't think of him as it, even though they're kind of like saying like, oh, he's going to be like your number 2 or, you know.
I actually think he does better than Iron Fist does in some situations.
I do as well. And I have to say, I love that they give him some of the wittier things to say. Like, I love that he was the one that got to make the jab about the internet. I like that they did the tongue-in-cheek because you have to admit that was kind of like the most ridiculous thing we heard about. And he's like, oh, how did you find me here? And he's like, oh, you were right about the internet. And then like brings up his phone and it's like some news report of him, you know, Rand comes back billionaire type thing.
Yeah.
And I liked that. I thought that was a cute scene. I liked when they do a balance of humor with also the bigger issues and the darker issues that they're trying to do. I have to say that was the nice thing that I like that Ian Stokes does is he is the king of great one-liners. This is the episode that had some of the best lines.
He does have some of the snappier dialogue. I got to give him credit for that.
It does. They're so good. And it wasn't just one particular character, but there were many of them that got to. I like when Davos makes the kind of the observation because Claire was like, oh, don't you understand? Like, why do you guys not have all these emotions? And why aren't you like trying to like understand that it's okay to be angry and stuff? And like, he was like, well, weapons shouldn't have feelings. And I liked that because it's another great illustration of what they've been building up and what kind of this Kung Lao was thought of too. And so they might be good and they might be on the side of right, but then you can also feel a little bit like maybe your methods aren't that great either. One of the other funnier lines that I really liked is when Claire confronts Colleen Wing after she already found out she's part of the Hand and, you know, like, are you the Hand? And she's like, well, yes, but we're like a different faction of the Hand. And she was like, and you don't think you were going to call yourself something else then? Like, why don't you call yourself like what about an ear or an arm? And I thought it was just like great humor because it does make sense. Like, well, we're not that Hand, we're a different Hand. And she's like, you're all the same thing. And you should know like how ridiculous it sounds to, you know, try and justify, well, we're not like those bad people.
And I felt like they were doing kind of an underhanded reference to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which itself was a parody of this kind of thing, literally of this thing, because they have the foot, which is a direct parody of the hand. So I thought that was funny.
It's great writing, like awesome writing between dialogue with the characters. This is something that I really like that this particular writer does. And he reminds me a lot of Joss Whedon that way, where I love where his dialogue between people and characters just sound so real. It sounds like an actual real conversation that two people would be having with that kind of wit. I loved when Danny and Davos are in the car, and then Davos is like, well, why did you get to drive? And he's like, you don't have a license. And it's just that kind of levity that kind of breaks up and makes you really enjoy this episode. This was by far my favorite.
I agree that this was right up with the last one as the best episodes of the series. What kind of score would you give it other than better than the first episode of Iron Fist?
This is by far my favorite episode out of the entire series. I felt this was better than the last one.
You know what? I might be able to go in with you because not only did it have a good action scene, but it had a lot of important character development. So how many stars would you give it?
Probably 4.5, 4 3/4.
I am also going to give it 4 3/4 stars out of 5, just because I always want to give them a little room to grow.
It's true, right? You don't want them to get complacent.
So, with a double good review, this will be Cubanwriter signing off.
Goodbye, darling.
Catch you next time.
But you'll look sweet upon the seat of a bicycle built for two. Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer due. I'm half crazy, all for the love of